This is Penn Woods interviewing for the Oklahoma Living Legends, and I am visiting in Madill, Oklahoma, with Mr. S.P. Babe. They call him Babe, B-A-B-E, Parrish, P-A-R-R-I-S-H. And Mr. Parrish is a businessman who lives in Madill now. He goes way back, and he has lived in Marshall County. I think since he was born, I believe, in 1890. Is that correct?
I was born just across the bridge down here from this Willis Bridge.
Well, we'll go ahead and we'll ask you to tell us that. Tell us where you were born, but also tell us who your parents were.
Yeah. Well, I was born over at what's now was at that time Cedar Mills, Texas. It's just across this Willis Bridge down here. You turn up on the hill to the left, and over there my dad and Dr. Sanders run a gin there and had a sawmill and a grist mill, like they used to grind this stuff up to eat cornbread. And then I was a small child at this morning there, and then of course Madill started here. Dad moved over here to Powell down here and worked at a gin down there and for some time, and then he farmed a year or two or three, and then he went to Lebanon and was there with the gin for a year or so, I think. And then he finally wound up at Lone Ellen with a gin. They put in a new gin down there, and he went down there. He was the fireman and the boiler man of all of that, And of course, I was just a little kid, but I come on up here and got to monkeying around. My first work I did around up here, the fella wanted some kid to drive a baler team out here to baling hay. And I went out there 50 cents a day. And my board, of course, we'd camped out there,
What year?
And on that baling, a fellow by the name of Carroll was running it. And then, of course, I come up here, and there's a wagon yard over here next to Woody's place now, over here, Woody Motor Company. And a fellow in there by the name of Norman Wynn wanted me to help him down there. And I went to helping him. Then after that, I went into the liver stable there where Woody Motor Company is now. And I went to work in there for Mr. That first man was, let's see, which one of them was that? Is Scribner boy, yeah, the Scribner boy. And Old Man Roy. I went to work for Old Man Roy first, that's the way it was. And then he sold out to Scribner. And then Scribner, of course, it went on down the line there. He sold it to, Scribner sold it to Ernest Lynn. Ernest Lynn sold it to the Archer boys out here. We stayed there a good while. Then I went on down and went to Old Man Roy. Had sold that, after he'd sold that out, he put one in down here on Main Street. It was called a rock barn. And I stayed there with him for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years working. And I drove the bus, as they called it, down to the depot. And we had the Euro route that covered two, go around different places. This liver stable's what it was, of course. And we go different places, and I'd have to drive the funeral wagon. I had a little wagon that's about 6 feet square, a big long black outfit. And all the rest of the boys wouldn't drive it. They didn't want to monkey with that.
Pulled by horses.
Yeah, pulled by horses, and also did that till finally they got one with 2 horses, and pretty nice one after that, which was a lot better,
Why didn't the others want to ride the funeral wagon?
So they're just superstitious or something. Them other boys just wouldn't do it, And of course I was around there for up till they began to get cars in. And I remember Dr. Holland, he got him a new car, and I was over there at this here Old Man Roy's place then, and he come over there and got me to go with him. He got this new car, and he wanted to go to Gainesville to see some of his kinfolk. And we had to take an axe and a grubbing hoe and a shovel going from here to Marietta on the road to get over with that old T-model Ford you had, you know, it's just a one-seated outfit.
What was the axe for?
Huh?
What did you use the axe for?
To cut down bushes. Some of the roads back there in them days, the wagons would drive the tracks down to where they had a drag in the middle, and we'd have to cut over a little so it'd straddle that place where the old wagon ruts run, you know, keep from getting stuck. We was all day going from here nearly to Marietta. Finally got to Marietta, we made the gains were pretty good after that on that trip.
You used the shovel to shovel dirt in the
Yeah,
hole.
fill up where it was holy, you know, and get along and everything. And I went over there with him, and then of course he stayed a few days, and he sent me back on the train around the Ardmore, and I come on home, you know, from that. And then, of course, he had some stuff down there that they asked me. There's a lot of things that went on here around in them days. Quite a bit of killing, and first one thing and another. But when I was a kid there, well, I bought me a pony and bought me a new saddle, and there's a lot of stealing going on.
About what year was this? About?
Well, that is long about, I guess that is long about 8 or something like that.
1908.
Yeah, or 7, long, not exactly. And you never know who your friend was back in them days. This old boy that I've been letting ride behind, why, one night, he went over there where I had it and take my saddle, bridle, and horse, stole the whole thing, you know. And so it went on. The next day I run on to his dad, and I just accidentally asked his dad where Volley was. He says he's over there at his sister's. And I noticed he didn't stay long. He taken off and went over there, and directly come back. He says, called me off one side, says, says, I believe Volley got that horse and saddle. Said, don't publish it anywhere, and we'll try to find him. And we went plumb up to the other side of Holdenville up in there, to a little old place, Yeager, I believe they called it. And where his other brother lived, he thought maybe he'd gone up there. And after we got up there, well, he hadn't been there, and come back. And sure enough, he found out the boy had stole it, and he went over to Durant and had traded this pony and saddle off and drawed $25 to boot, and come back home with him a new horse and saddle of his own. But the old man went over there and found the fellow that he sold it to and told him what was going on, and he got it back from him. Well, I thought, boy, that's something. And then in about 2 months after that, why, another one of the old boys come over there and wanted to borrow my saddle. Said he's going over to Gainesville, and he said him and another fellow will be back tomorrow, I believe, he said, or something. And by gum, they got my saddle. So the long story I'm trying to tell you about was that we found out that they caught them way up in here close to Holdenville, somewhere up in there. And they over at Walker-Nooka, they traded my saddle off for another saddle and drawed $25 to boot. I had a brand new saddle, you know, it looked pretty good. And so me and my dad went up there looking for it. And after we got up there, why, this fellow said, well, look around here and see if you can see your saddle. I looked around, I said, I don't see. He had several saddles there in the old liver stable where he traded it off. And he said, well, Victor, he stood around there, and he said, the boy too down at the post office says, it might be down there. And we started down there at the post office, and before I got in a block or more from it, I could see my saddle down there. I told him, I said, I see my saddle on that sorrel pony down there. And he looked around and says, Sonny, you don't have to say no more. Says, that's it. And to make that story short, I wouldn't wait that evening. We come on back up here, and the train come up from there to Randolph and went on to Ardmore, and I carried that saddle on my back that night from there to Madill. You know how kids are. Well, I was afraid of it. And that's the way the stealing was going. And of course, we had some killing around. We had our city marshal here, the name Pratt. This boy worked over at the post office. His granddad was city marshal. An old boy with the name of Jim Thompson over there. He arrested him for being drunk the day or two before that. Thompson was running the P wagon yard there where this Chevrolet is now. And this fellow was over on the other street, going down the street. And he got a Winchester and shot across there and killed him there on the sidewalk, you know. And then I was going out to the picnic ground then. They had a picnic west part of town, and was going out there, and Joe B. Hardick was out there, and him and a fellow by the name of Peoples had a little quarrel. So they had been down there below where the swing was, and coming back, and I run into Joe B. Hardick, and he says, listen, says, you driving a taxi, ain't you? I said, yeah. He said, take me to town. I said, okay, as soon as I get another passenger or two. And we started walking up there, and he met this fella, Jim Peoples, that they'd had the trouble with. And he just jerked out his gun and killed him right there. And the people as thick as it could be. I don't see how it kept from hitting somebody else, but it didn't.
Did you see him do it?
Yeah, it was right, but I was close to him as here to you at the time he jerked that gun out. I never thought about such a thing, but it happens, you know. And, of course, then we had a killing right here in this place.
What happened to this man? Did they catch him? Or did they stop him?
Yeah, he never offered to run. The sheriff happened to be there, John Glenn, and he just arrested and brought him to town. But he fooled around, got out for 4 years, and went to Mexico and killed a bunch of them on the border working down there, killed some Mexicans down there, and finally one of them got him. But then, of course, after that, we had killings around here. Working there at the liver stable, the old man Roy, he had a boy by the name of Tom, and Tom, he didn't like the liver, but so he was very good and worked that was around there, and so he decided to work on a ranch, and he went up here up north to a little town, they call it, let's see, I forget the name of that little place he's at, right up this side of, at the other side of Ader up there a piece, and he got him a job working, worked about a week, and Saturday, and he'd come in, and there's three, the Indians boys is there, and they're drinking, and they're going to run him off, supposed to, and old Tom wasn't much on the run, and he didn't say too much, but he watched everything. One of them grabbed him around the waist behind, and the other one had a belt full of cartridges, you know, and he's going to hit him over the head with it. Well, listen, he dodged and kind of hit the one behind him first, and Tom had on a gun, and he turned it around his side, shot that one behind him, and then he turned it loose and shot this, and it had the belt, and the third one run in, and he went some way or another, he didn't have another cartridge or something, I reckon. He went to beating him over the head with the gun and killed him. Well, the next day he called his dad, and the next day they went up there to get him out, and so they got him loose somewhere and started home with him. And after got out about 2 miles this side of Sassakaway, that's where the place was, and got out about 2 miles this side of there was some shots out there that's going through a wooded place, and they shot through the smokers. I thought maybe Tom and they was in there, I guess more of them Indians or something, you know. And he got on down here. Well, he come down here and decided to go back to work at the barn. And he worked around there a good while, and they had a big circus come right across the street down there from where we were in the liver stable. And he went over there to that circus, and you know, they usually have a little after show after the circus. An old boy by the name of Webb sitting up beside of him, he didn't pay for his 10 cents for the after show. This fellow come around collecting it or something, and Tom telling this, Thomas sitting beside him, he told this showman, says, well, Lord goodness, he says he ain't got a dime, said, let him go, says, I'll pay for his stuff. And this sheriff, they'd got a fellow by the name of Green out here in the country to be a deputy that night during the big crowds, you know, and you always have extra men. And so he says to Tom, says, you get your bill out of there, says, that fellow's got to pay that dime. And Tom says, what do you got to do with it? Instead of telling me he's a deputy, Tom didn't know nothing, just pushed him that evening. Why, when Tom told him, he said, what do you got to do with it? He pulled out his gun, and I said, show you what I got to do with it. Well, Tom accidentally had the 32 in his scabbard under his shirt. He turned out and shot this fellow Green twice, and Green, as he's going back, shot that old big 45 once, and they killed one another, and shot another boy in the heel.
Yeah. Did you see that?
Huh?
Did you see that?
We was at the show. Yeah. And
What is the after show?
Huh?
What is the
Oh,
after
they just put on a lot of clown play kind of there and stuff like that's what they used to do while they was tearing down the main part of the show, you know. Wasn't nothing to it much. They used to do that a lot, them big circuses like that, you know, have the after show. And then right here, there used to be a cafe right here. And
This is where? What address? About? About what address?
well, let's see, this long time ago used to be a two-story building. There's a Palace Hotel up here and Palace Cafe down below.
Located about where?
Yeah, about along here. It's been.
About what street? See, we're talking on tape and we don't even identify.
Well, it's on this corner, First Street and Main. You know, the first of the Main goes where it starts in right out here, around the square. And the fella come up here from McKinney. His wife went to working in this restaurant, and he come up that evening and tried to get her. I think go back to him or something, and she wouldn't go. And he turned around and he shot her. And then Mr. Moss was a policeman. He started to come in at the door, and he shot him, killed him, and then turned around and the gun on himself. So there's all three. Well, then later on, 3 or 4 years after that, or hardly so long, I don't know what. Right over here at the corner drugstore, they call it, you know, just across on First Street and the Main, you might call it too. Well, Crockett Long was over there, and he's mad at this. He wasn't, but this Lynn was Wiley Lynn. He'd been a deputy United States Marshal. And he thought he's something. He killed an old fella up here around Seminole or somewhere once, and got out, come down here, and so they met in there, and he old Crockett had been city marshal here once or something during the time, and put old Wiley in jail. So Wiley, after he got out and a few on, he always drinking around, you know. So he went in and got him about a half pint or something or other, I guess. He was pretty full, and he went in there, and they shot one another, killed each other, and shot another boy that's standing there at the door. That's right across the street over there. And down here where I'm at now used to be the post office, there where my business is. And Ku Klux Klan got pretty tough back in them days, you know. And one old boy over
and
here.
And this was about what period?
Well, that's during that Ku Klux time, way back there along.
After World War I?
Yeah.
In the early 20s?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 22 to be right about. And so this sheriff fella worked over there for Woodage. This boy's Woodage over there now. His granddad was running it then. And this old boy come over there, and him and this fella got into it, and going into the post office. Why, this boy worked over Woody, killed him there, just factory for nothing, you know. And them three down there, as I was telling you about at that show, is over a dime. Just and of course, just continued things like that around.
Tell us about the Ku Klux, how it operated here.
Well, they dressed up that night there, a whole herd of them, and paraded all around the square. And during the time they was parading, an old boy by the name of Alec Chastain lived out here about a mile and a half from town, and he come in to watch it. And while he's in here, a fellow run in here and told him his house was burning down. Went out there and his house burnt down, his wife in it, and burnt her up too. And of course, people imagine things. I don't know what happened, but something happened there, you know. And during them, while they was parading here in town, he's here watching.
But it was was it the Ku Klux Klan member's house burned?
No, he's against them. Yeah,
he's
watching them, you know. He's an old boy that's been, he's raised around here for years, you know. And just such stuff that went on for a long time around, you know.
Do you remember any other activity of the Ku Klux Klan here?
Not particularly. They hear lots of threats and things, I think. People had talked, but as far as me knowing, I didn't know too much about that kind of. The only thing, I was kind of against it too.
Did they have any political strength here?
At one time, they looked like there's quite a few of them, but it faded out, you know. They had a bunch down there. It went down to a parade down at Kingston one time, and there's quite a few of them down there. But it went on, and of course then, before that times when I went down to, you know, I showed you. Did I show you that
No.
hanging?
No.
That's the old little stable there, where that old Wiggles was. That's me out there. Here's one that they hung him in a tree, you know. And he run off from up there and got down here to.
Who was
is a colored boy. I didn't know his name. I couldn't think of it. And we went a bunch down there. There's a switch engine down here and some cars. And they got up a bunch. There's already Bob down there looking for him, kind of, you know. And they got up a bunch and got on that train and carried him up to Holdenville. He was out west of Holdenville, a few miles out in the country. And when they got up there, well, they taken the crowd. I guess looked like 1,000 people there all around that depot, and they taken that nigger away from the officers. It wasn't hard to do, I don't think. They taken him away and carried him out to this place where he raped this woman, and hung him up in the tree. You can see there the leaves is all around him. You can see him hanging up in that tree. And us boys went up there to see. There's Bill Carter and Lloyd Stone down there, and I was back over in there. You can't see over there. Was just taking part of the main. What was trying to do, take his picture more.
Who made the picture?
Some of the boys that was in the bunch. I just recall which one made it by now. Might have been Snyder. He was quite a hand at taking that kind of stuff. And then after long back in them days.
Well, they just hung him. How did they hang him physically?
They got a rope and sewed it way up over one of them limbs there, and brought it down there and fixed it around his neck, and they pulled him up there by George and left him hanging. Right. And then one of them had a gun.
How long did it take him to die?
Well, it didn't seem like it's so awfully long, but he quit kicking around there. But he was still hanging when we left. When we got back, had to get on old dray wagons, you know, like they used to have. I bet there's 50 on an old dray wagon going out there giving that fella 2 bits around. Go out there to watch that, you know. And after that, then me and little Jim Bounds was going down to Denison, and when we got down to Kingston down here, there's an old boy there got arrested, and he got on there at Kingston. And me and Jim and another fellow, I can't remember who the other fellow was offhand that was long. And of course, we knew him, this fellow, arrested man, that is, we'd been in there, I didn't know his name. Anyway, he got on and asked us where we was going. And we told him we was going to Denison. And he says, I'm going over to Sherman. Said, the nigger down there killed my brother. His brother was a policeman, shot him out of a boxcar and killed him, and the other one got hold of this nigger somewhere in there. And it says they had sent 4 passes up here for me and my wife and 2 children. It says there's 4 of us. And says the wife wouldn't go and she didn't want the kids to go. And says, I've got 3 passes here. It says, you fellas want to go sit? Well, go down. Well, of course, we just, instead of going to Denison, we went on over to Sherman. And one of them is going to hang the one that killed his brother at 2 o'clock. And we got our pass and got inside the jail there. Now, that wasn't at the penitentiary. That was down there at Sherman, out there in that big jail he got in. And they let us go in there to watch it at 2 o'clock. We watched that, and it taken them a good little bit to pronounce him dead and this, that, and the other, and get the ambulance and get him out of there. And they told us, that y'all just stay in here. There's another one coming up in a few minutes. And so we stayed and watched the other one. So we got to watch the 2, you know. That.
Why did they have him for?
He'd killed someone, the law enforcement or something down there, but it was a different crime, I think.
These were official hangings rather than...
Yeah, oh yeah, them 2 was.
The first was the
yeah, but this other, they just taken it away from him. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of that stuff. Oh, I could tell a million things, but it'd take too long.
Go ahead.
Different things that happen there all the time.
You were talking about your father running a grist mill. Why don't you describe how the grist mill operated?
Well, it's got it works on a whole lot like the old sorghum mill in a way. It grinds that corn down to where it's meal, you know. Everybody in them days used to go, they'd go to mill on Saturday. A lot of them from the country go to mill, you know, to get their meal enough to last them during the week. And then they made chops, too. They could chop it up, widen it out further, you know. And they had a little old lumber mill there. And a little old gin that they had way back in them days, 18 and 90 something, you know. Why, they just had 1 press outfit and 2 gin stands. And they couldn't gin very much cotton, but they was busy all the time. tying a gin, you know. And of course, at that time, no bridge here or nothing. There's a ferry boat down here at Willis Dam, and you go across there to this Cedar Mills where we are at there. And there's backwards and forwards. We had kinfolks over here, you know, and I come over. Then Dad, when Madill started, that's when we moved over in the Indian Territory. And then as a kid, I always loved to drive anyhow, and that got me into these liver stable business, you know. And we worked them liver stables for $35 a month, and that wasn't 5 days a week or 6 days a week. That is 7 days and nights, the day and night. By George, it would just continue, you know. The biggest business a lot of times would be on Sunday. These people would come down and get rigs to drive around, you know, with their wives. Everybody didn't have no cars or nothing, you know, nothing like that to go, and everybody went in buggies and things, you know. And a lot of our stuff was on Monday, and we had to stay there day and night. And I never will forget one thing that kind of was funny to me. I don't know how funny it would be to other people, but an old doctor here by the name of Dr. Rollison, there's a different doctor, the one I was telling you about Holland a while ago. This is his partner, Dr. Blaylock, this one was. And so they, long way back in there, I don't know whether you remember or not, but they had what's it called, meningitis break out down in Texas, you know. In them days, everybody here taking the Dallas Morning News. It didn't have much from Oklahoma here. You get that paper every morning, there'd be a bunch of them got died from meningitis. Well, one morning, old Doc called me real early, and it's the coldest morning. Boy, it was cold. To go out northwest of town here, about 6-7 miles, a fellow by the name of Hatfield says, always called me Bebe. He said, Bebe, says, get a team ready. Said, we got to go. I always take a driver with them them days because they have to open gates. You know, you could, in a lot of places that didn't have no roads, only go through gates. And I sure hate to go that morning. It's cold, but I always went with Doc for he thought it seemed like a lot of me, and I did him. We went out there and got in that house on a high hill way out northwest of town, about 5-6 miles. And he went in there, old man Hatfields, and they had the nicest fire in there, boy, good and warm and everything, you know. I went in, and old Doc, he always have to talk a good little bit and pull his old coat off and this, that, and the other, and talk a little. So before he'd examine him, finally he went to examine him, you know. And so there hadn't been no meningitis around here at all at that time. And finally he said, well, he says, I hate to tell you, but says, your son's got meningitis. Boy, when he done that, out the door I went, you know. And I got out there in that buggy, and them poor little ponies out there about to freeze to death, you know. I sat out there a good little bit, and I was about to freeze. I think to myself, well, if I'm going to have to die, I believe I'd just well die warm as freeze to death. So I went back in the house. Doc laughed and said, what's the matter? I said, by George, I'm about to freeze to death. He said, well, we'll fix that. So he'd always, well, I went with him. They began to break out around over town, you know. And none of the rest of the boys wouldn't go with him, and I'd been exposed anyhow, so I'd have to go with him day or night, whatever it was. And he'd spray me with something every time we'd go, you know, and come back, this, that, and the other. And there was a few died around, and we go out with the corpse, and I'd drive that old hearse that I was telling you about 3 foot square outfit. And we'd go to a funeral, and lots of times they'd dig the grave back in them days. The neighbors would, you know, out in the country. And we'd carrying, I remember one special, we're going out there to Macmillan. We got over there on the hill, we looked over there, and we seen about a dozen men over there that got the grave dug and everything. And me and the undertaker and the preacher, and a series behind us with the family, I reckon, or some of them, was all there was going out. And they seen us coming, and boy, they had left there, they flew, you know, scared of that meningitis. And we got up there, and me and the preacher and the man had to let that down in the grave and kind of cover it over a little. And then we left, and they come back after we left. Oh, that stuff is that going on all the time.
How long did that meningitis? How long did the meningitis epidemic run?
It didn't seem like it was too long. It's during that cold weather seemed like where they had the worst of it around through here. Me and old Doc go places, and we thought he always liked to go. Never will forget one time he's telling about that we went out here and the nigger sitting on the Indian is sitting on the stump out there watching them pick cotton, and he'd been a hunting. Shotgun fell down on the stump and went off and shot him right in the belly, you know. So me and old Doc, he called me and said, "Babe, says we got a place to go," and I thought it's meningitis, but that's what it was that time. And old Doc, he liked his toddy pretty well, you know. He says, "Boy," says, "I don't know what I'm going to do." Says, "I'll be out there all night." And so he'd been to Dallas about a month before that and got a little too much, and his wife hid some of it up from him or something, I think. And so he told me get ready and come by, and got ready and come by, and he went over to a drugstore somewhere and got some alcohol and fixed him up some, you know. Stopped out here between here and Oakland to fix it up half and half or something else. You know, it's too strong that way, you know, by itself. And he went to open his satchel, and one of them quarts that he got, the old lady put it in there. I felt sorry for him going out there all night. And so see, he says, "My goodness," says, "I've got the sweetest woman in the world." I said, "What's the matter?" And he pulled that out, you know. We went out there and couldn't do nothing about it. He just shot the whole piece of that shotgun right in there. But they had him on the bed, and they had a big fire out in the yard, just a bunch of Indians all together nearly back there then, you know, where we went. And he told them, says, "Me and Parrish will sit out here in the car, in a buggy a while," and says, "Y'all heat a rock and put to his feet." Says he's awful cold. And so they got a rock, great big rock, and heated. They didn't more than heat it, but they got too hot, you know, and they went in there and put it to his feet, and old Doc happened to look out, and smoke was coming out the door. Poor boy. And we went down there, and they had to get all the bedding out of there and everything, you know, and keep him from burning up instead of getting shot. And we come back, of course, so many things happen around that way. We used to have a bunch of hotels here all the time, you know. Right across west from the Woody Motor Company was Central Hotel. And one morning about 9 o'clock, it caught a fire and burnt down, and boy, it had everything going. And then right over here.
When was that? When was that fire down?
That is about 1909 or something like that. And then that commercial hotel was sitting right over here where this used car of the Chevrolets is now.
About what address would that be?
Well, that'd be, let's see, that is the first off of this first street, and the next block down here is sitting on Second Street, I think you'd call it there, yeah, and Tishomingo Street, and that's about where it was. And that thing burned up. Well, that is two of them gone, you know. And then later on, they had a big hotel down there called the Rock Hotel, and that one went down in the smoke, you know. And so it is later on in the years, though, this Rock Hotel was getting later on. And finally, this building here, it burned up, you know. It is a Palace Hotel, you know.
That's where?
It was standing here all
right
along.
Where we are.
Yeah.
What's that address?
Well, there's First Street here and West Main, the west part of Main here, going towards the courthouse.
Yeah, and it's now what bank? The name of the bank?
No, it wasn't a bank.
There's a bank here now, though.
Oh, this here is First National Community Bank
Oh,
here.
I see.
First National Bank. This here is their room, community room here, you know,
Yeah.
and they've got drive-in right joining here, you know. And then there's all got to burning down around, you know, and so had an old big one down there right north of the city hall. Had 32 rooms to it, an awful accommodating outfit down there, been there a long time. And they'd caught a little fire one morning, and they got it out before it done much damage. And they ordered the thing burnt down because it's so close to the city hall, afraid to catch something for it. The old man tore it down, was going to build him a little house, and they wouldn't let him build that. And I happened to be down there working some that time. I'd got back from World War I, just had got back. And so he wanted somebody to help him tear it down, and me and the boy went down there and tore that thing down. After we tore it down, they wouldn't let him build the other. He come down there one day mad and wanted to leave, him and his wife. And he says, I'd been working there 2-3 weeks or something, and whatever it was, he owed me about 60 some odd dollars. And we tore all that down, piled it out in a pile. He says, how much do I owe you? And I figured it up. The old man scratched his head and says, will you square off with me to take that and move it off of this lot? And I said, well, yeah. I've taken it off, you know, and made that deal with him on them crazy hotels. Oh, that's a mess.
So what was the deal? You moved it.
Mm-hmm.
So the deal was what? You would get you would move it off.
Yeah, I had already tore it
Yeah,
down, but I
that's right.
moved the stuff off. Give it to me. Give me the
He
stuff.
gave you the material.
Yeah,
in
and I had
lieu
I had a lot down there next to my house. I
Yeah.
piled it up down there, and I sold stuff, tried to keep account for a long time, but it run out of hand. You had no telling how much I got out of that
So
old.
you took the lumber and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And they had all them rooms. Every room had a bed and an old pitcher and a pot. They didn't have no outdoor. They didn't have nothing but outdoor toilets, you know, and they used them things. Boys, some outfit.
You could really sell them today as antiques. if you
Yeah.
had them.
Yeah, that lumber'd be worth something
Yeah,
too
it
now,
would.
wouldn't it? Yeah.
Sure would.
And think about all them beds now. I had
Yeah.
beds and dressers,
Yeah.
a bed and a dresser, and one of those big pitchers and a wash pot there that you wash your hands in.
Mhm.
To every room. Besides, the office part had pretty nice chairs in it, and every room had a chair to it, I think. And I'll tell you, I had a lot of experience with some of them folks.
Mhm.
But I imagine you're getting tired of listening.
Oh, I'm not. No, I'm not at all. You were in World War One. What were you in? You weren't in the Mexican border, though, were you?
No, I was in. I first went from here to England, and then crossed the Channel over in France, and we went on the Saint Mihiel front. Saint Mihiel, and then they thought we was pretty good or yes or something. They taken us so Musar gone.
Yeah.
And I was right up on the last shot was fired. We was trying to shoot him up on. I've got the picture of that down home.
What were you in? What
I was
unit?
in the Texas and Oklahoma Division, 90th Division.
90th Division.
At TNO, they call it Signal.
What company?
Company D, the 360th Infantry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Company D.
The 358th was in that too. wasn't it?
Yeah, and 60 was in it, and 57.
Mhm.
There's 4 different bunches in it, you know.
My father was a company commander of Company B, 358,
Yeah.
and he died last month.
Is that right? Well, my captain that I was in, his daddy used to be the governor of Texas. His name was Hogg. Mac Hogg was this boy's name, and he is the captain. I got tickled at him, and some of them got kind of sore at him, you know. He had a couple of boxers on there, you know. Boy, we was winning everything, them boys boxing and having, during the time it wasn't up to front, that's when we was getting ready, you know. And he made a remark one day, he said he wished they had a whole company like those 2 boys, you know.
Which two are they?
I can't recall their names right now, but it's been so long, and I wasn't with them too awful long there, you know. The first place we went up on that St. Mihiel front, why they both got gas to hear them tell it, you know. A lot of them, we went up there on that's the front over that Musar Gone front one morning, and the first of, I believe it was October, and it was November we were, and we went over with 250 men. That included a machine gun bunch with us, you know. And went that day and that night, and the next day we carted up over there, and there's just 47 of us there. So I thought, boy, that's cutting them down. And you know, we had us over there to rest up till we could get some more in, you know, to fill up this thing. And I'm telling you, by that next nightfall, I bet there's 75 or 100 of them come in that scared or something. That young, they didn't keep up with it. It's a mess.
Was Company D a heavy weapons company?
No, we was in a rifle.
Rifle.
Yeah, we was all we was just the infantry, you know, the rifle our bunch.
You had
But
the
we had
infantry
a machine gun back behind us, backed us up, you know. But all we had is a rifle and gun. We went over then. After it was over, we was stopped up there on the front, and they taken us up into Germany. Then we walked 24 days with a pack on our back, helmets, hats, and everything, a pack, guns, and masks and all. And I'll tell you, we just about wore out. We got up in there and we got into Germany there on the Moselle River, and Bernkastel was headquarters up there, at Bernkastel. And we stayed there till the next June before we got to come home. And boy, them was some long months there waiting to get to come home. But we got back home then in June. I got home on the 19th of June. I never will forget it. We come from Arkansas on up to here. Every little town we come through, the niggers is celebrating that. The 19th of June is their celebrating day, Yeah. And then, of course, this thing can kind of happen funny. When I got back home, some of them won't know what I was going to do. I said, by gum, I'm going to raise me a squad to go back and take the next one. And by George, come to find out, I raised 4 boys, and 3 of them went to World War II. And then, of course, this last one, they had grandson lived, so I like to feel my promise.
What did you do when you got out of the war, out of World War I? What did you do?
Well, the first thing I did is, like I said, I done a little job working around here. It's kind of looking out to see what I could get into. Just before I went out there, I was around a baker shop. Me and Bill Carter, that boy that's there with them. We just closed up the baker shop and went up.
Let's talk about the bakery shop, and then we'll go into it. Tell us how a bakery shop operated in that time. It's a lot different from today.
Yeah, well, the only way we did was get east and set that of a night, and then it'd rise. We'd watch it. Sometimes we'd have to have ice to keep it like we wanted it, and sometimes it'd rise too fast, too much east or anything. And then about 2 o'clock in the night, well, he done all the baking nearly, except we tried to keep hands, but that's the hardest thing in the world to do is to keep them bakers. They all seem like they bottle too well or something. They'd stay till they got a payday or two, and sometimes they'd leave. But we had a hold of a little Mexican once, stayed with us a long time, and he's pretty good. But Bill was good himself. He'd been raised up in the baker business, you might say, And so we'd set that thing there, and we'd sell 12 loaves for $1 back there in them days, and and we'd wrap that paper, we would single out, all them things. And of course, we had an old boy by the name of Bert. He's the first one killed in World War I from here. And he was with us down there quite a bit, and he liked to bake and everything, and him and Bill would get down there, and they'd bake up a lot of cookies and this pie, this, that, and the other, a lot of time. But that's something I didn't want to do. I usually delivered it out and helped maybe wrap it and stuff and sell it, but I didn't do any cooking much. I didn't know too much about that and didn't want to. In fact, they kind of messed me up, and I went to World War I. And listed me here as a baker, because I was running a baker, And when I got down there, they wanted to shift me up to baker school, I told them, son, not me, not no baker school. Finally, they kept me up there anyhow a week or two, and I kept with them until I got out of it. And so I didn't want none of that, I knew. And when I got down there, a lot of boys from here had been down there. The first call had been down there nearly a year when I went down there. I was married and had a little boy, oldest boy, and so they had come down to my time to go. Well, I was ready to go. And they got down there, and the rest of them been there about a year, and said, boy, says, you'll have a year of tough work here. Says, go through all this stuff. Well, I'd been down there just about 2 months, and when they called this 90th Division up to go over, and I never had a gun in my hand. I'd had billy clubs. I was doing police around Depot Brigade, that way the billy club. Never had a gun in my hand or nothing. And they're like 2 men having filled up in old Mike Hogg's company, that Company D. And they come down there and got me and this old boy from Ada up here, his name is Chapman. Brought us over there, and we went across. It started across there. Never had a gun or nothing. We got up to New York. Up in, let's see, it's that evening I believe we got to New Jersey. Went over Long Island, and they gave us guns, helmets, and all that stuff. And I never had one. I stuck it under my seat. So we.
Bueno, mas nena mo psistiru ta magnet ta the law of get na on this night stay there was that horse.
Guard duty.
Oh, you reckon it. Girl, heinous doch dabei, ist doch nur, ist doch erzählt, ja, Alkohol ist doch, dann, ist ein Erstschiff, in einem Beruf, that they did them the off, got, with the sears, the back on the fell, the back on my sprechen, and the people food, I'm a grown that I had neck on an Irish, and it'll work my say, there, you know, I'm snare for zero. No, veldig nært målebesmøk målsjande vei ut andre ved dårlig at vei her og vei det kan det beste til man so det blir han getting nok down there was sure hung off the law who used it when he does more gilibia the outside of the closer you see it so I can see this when you number one gunning will marry the for that be really man Head machine I'm a neighbor rail against the two and have making up the zero members yes with and yes that was done and look at that Bebe over see that nice to see all under his skirts you're looking over on the chaff I get chaff Bebe note and then yes and then the call when I go on a sewer scarce damn fat and yeah lip and fell for the fan Stroke the governors did a hunter or certain the canal the bot root Sam didn't biscuits did it was there and dug damn boy stroke number film but over serving on the hanger for lightning Brian and I doing here lot is the land of Shanlot sure look what they did them dead amps in name and guess behind It's an everything you place they found the chief come they found the snow can get outside the no nips that was net Yes, sir. I don't know read around it with the rest you were in it. I built up and they didn't get any better on him, but for 50 the dwarfs that get. Who wanted under, who went on there, you know, gets so far that they're bring the horny and all. Yes, they damn that.
And the old man Channing come over there
Slik Sabbath, and I had a sewer 50, we're doing it the rip. See if I give us my that's human. Master locker, witness got her renew. Fixing us some sexy, the locker, around it. They didn't deliver this now with the diversity of the dollar I left us with the straight surface and nothing here blue neck here and the shimbas at the chill and selfish. There's the sillis that a great elder you want a year in the shimp as it sing as soon as the surfs near rip school of fellas look that wasn't it. Opzet liggen slide in de weg en opzet liggen ook zes lurgen. Fibim. Zeer liggen nou dat is de no en yes die dan de boss nou vliegenis is wel precies zeer bij de massaker maar nou die wanneer te samen. Surf more but you more there is no the bedal mustn't shame no for the Gideon must work Gideon there's nothing the robbery the necessity there bring so work so Nah, the show the name but radio now on is lore blue gals looks lore nemak ja sis cabrops je fende dus lore nemak this work the therapist na her but sure but number grow you know there's never does it wish then so if no for fair in a shims we grow we heard some that
Reading about this kind of thing, nothing in the world, you know. But George, we finished that job, and he come by down there while that and says, I want you. And I went to work for him, worked 2 years for him, and after I worked those 2 years with him, he was one of these high-going kind of fellows, and he take bankruptcy, beat me out about 6, 7 of them. And so after he could take bankruptcy, he sold it auction. And the people that bought it didn't know nothing about it, and so I bought it off of them, and that got me in the plumbing business. And then, of course, he had plumbing and wiring, and then I got into this plumbing and wiring, and appliances began to come along a few years after that, you see. And after got into that, my boys got up grown pretty well. When they come back from World War II, they wanted to get into something, and one of them's he's a petroleum engineer for an oil company up in Tulsa, and the other one working in Oklahoma City in the construction work there. He's got a company up there, Concho, construction company. He's been there 25 years. And the other two people there with me now have been ever since World War II. And they got into they never figured out to do anything that kind of thing. They just don't reckon it. But, you know, you just fall into something, you can't get out. Yeah, they're with me down there. They take over and out there. No, them two, I have 4 boys. Yeah, these two sons here, them two still out there and doing well, and these boys here is really doing mighty well. They wouldn't want anything any better than they've been. And all of them have been wonderful to me. Parish Electric Plumbing and Appliances. We sell General Electric appliances, plumbing, and do a word of water, heating, cooking, doing this Chevrolet outfit, a big building out here now, right south of town, through the cemetery. And so they've been awful good to me. I'm 86 years old. And try to get me to quit. Ain't no quit till you turn your toes up. You still active? Yeah, I can do anything in the back. You got me in? No, you got to have it to get along. Yeah, I've had
anything to do for me, but now in a snall looks really steady. The fire and the lost snip, sure, water and the college, I've been able to reveal. However, they get up in every door reveal. Forbes all these fergs with the some man to do, not visit some man to do, as they do. But my door is that, yes, awesome, the bats. Voor plaats me weg en neer dat de naam dat ik dat maar zo dus dat ik wende zie hoor maar door zo heel zegt gewoon nu hoor zo goed hoor en de we brand de we being also willen neer dat naar die net hier zo nog er zo we dat we yes dat je dat de naam nou dat je zing even en when yes, there's an eminent off, I'm yes, a sea. Heard the moss is well. There's the law, and says the law, but the banana and the passing yes with the law. Not let the morning of you when they were that being did it on their law, and then I had farmers and slaves. Now the Lord works to say, oh, she give it the hand, having it. No, slaves, not lamble. Nog snabel. Very fancy nog, so it's not lamb. Yeah, this is a mustn't get no. Morning as much as you could find a she do. Here's skeleton skit or the loyal nay, the lot is don't laugh no, the baby, no first year and 11. So they remember Nick, I had a lot of Agnes, so they weird and that. The cups, Jim, and strong men or that. Stick up burst in the leg, little stick up burst. And this is sneller up doing it. My but and I should have just sent that scab or Biff Bandy doing that. Says don't answer. There, damn, I have to get mom or stick sibs. We do there, Bell, as your skib. Have Bandy do. Hiding that. And we live saying as if weather skim saps, little as you was, you don't eat the bang as enough little than the rota.
After World War II, well, it seemed like everything kept up. Places and everything. I don't know, but they were making little money. I know, when I was a little kid, as I said, I went to work out there 50 cents a day.
Red Captain Edwards, when the day he was remember the musnell was the city of him, they were actually remembers that there were many through Anthony never get in the cat. Anthony cab good on the horse. Sherlock's making Bombas and Jerson making Bombas and Ariel, did we ask Ross and Yesens, Severusons, and Gideon Douglas, Miss Daly, reviewing it. Yet labeled it in the sheer fly. Jurchen look bad as the most girlfriend with the Mr. Or talking at the deep of that so that Jurchen look and I look at the human Jurchen baby they Jurchen the them but they heal share for sure for them that they have Amarin Jurch they heal Math mess that no she knew it's not so little so it's all for no sure being it up when it up so I heard I was new see yeah the best of it and the best of the girl banded the best of that must play drawing there's a knock and there's a lock so they on the snab and on that's the mass and I'm a for button or snab and that or wolf and or stiff to the bed now in that yeah first night I was stiff in the minute well laps and do we who and if it and did it but I'm in south clock and over wishing up the best band of my but now she laps and it farmers from this door see it there who mess and that's just this it has to throwing at the end of it the window and sells it that's and the looks looking on the arms see it at the end of laps and digging in over here and her skift and the dolls he can mass a man and well looks no go over there should be before they're over there the steps there get on it here how them much enough to skift and then I said there's just looks no right and I would not say lamb
at that time. And by George finally the oats and wheat began to kind of play out. A lot of them I think got too lazy to work.
Most half of my roots down and there's a bit bad and both of us and the rooms with her tigers get roots in of the her mammy roost stuff down the head skinner and there's some soft wood stuff so I looks and they're all for this billion. Here's just the girl, show 'em the message, but I passed the stuff and I together, and that's the soft style. There's that, the acid over there, do for a piano was, it's the soft and take it. The message, was so nice, the vocabulary of me very little. Dick was cool, a little of a snap, and not. Nee, strof babel cash the blood and eighty dots there on this one the looks it that we wrote choose the set here is nearly was and in the shit is then in looks and it's really is it up in your stop skill that I hear ships and on I'm a very getting a name but yesterday I'm the elder one and I'm a with a sure much when lot if I hadn't answered Nicker, we're in a shim did we're over Reno. You na hurts and them as we know after the world scarce damn you. No, I said the sure enough, but the no sure the off and that. I know you are glad for the left then. The best news now stabs up then that. Those yes trophy. They healed there's you sell as the war circle sim. Till not the town the sheriff says goes. All I'm a good stick the under from the also we were works neighbor doing it. Right, well works there's no net or on this room of fall had man the circle gams of the horse but to sim that on a use dress by Eric the message lives to nice, but they're on I'm no blast if the draw looks a little with how I'm this word that I was just do this just see news the next they better off but I tell them I name and it sure fan that but this snap that looks like was so good simne yeah they ran looks and that's the worst that looks like the worst that بلاه جبنا أول شرفنا تيندنا الله بس ده كاش وانا ريب بيدنا وانا مسكت هوس ميانا دوام الكلام برأي شفاء شوف ومنو شفاء شوف دوام بده هذا سكارش بيربر بدين دكتور لنا يعني نزل برام ده هو Her fucking breath banana the scouts way thing to do the rot so anonymous. The end is none of us is none new to the none now so they can't stop. Nis none was no master that Sarah thought net her arm destroyed. Looks is the one that gets this net. Horse in the crumb of time. Was her good sim, her sister was her god seal and the cell need net. Master upset the house. So with off my man of my commanders and lip say either for week or two we her flukes yesterday naggers dip the night and or deaths. Then I am run the west and do it fairly, and they are so I'm looking in the show was the sign. And did there so that was number and did you over my scales and reach season and Oster Simba, have a man at the burst used to then what I go in it. She's second actually, did you stay there not? She's wolf because of that. Yes, she kissed the shows we was. So I was must doing this and they do math that the boy look from off was didn't they do it themselves with a horny wine. She is did the lamb but the first so say with him. Mine is simply and they is never for an layers the dogs of desert. Nay, that's the doing it so close and they've no mass, no naps you net. Snam bow for first all. Baby, a chief net on a look, so was this net. So close never doing it. I say with more, I never he never actually was my dry his net. My shelter one up. Sure, as a man,
grade schooling and everything out there.
It was a look or simba, so can I read how much in it? We should supposed to be having it. Yes, and I'm the name we were observing. Yes, you need us the first is to supposed to be having it. Well, the messenger, she's about surface labels and a girl. That's sail for his nervous over the fam. Sail was over the fam, still sail 1 minute. I am but under that gum. I must get in and you know, fancy gab, but yes, I didn't do it. I see the horse did on we must nanger, but my biggest roots fan of handed. I heard some net looks and then I up her the master the left day we see you as never sneaked down the gets and the one and that. No, we not any skin and robes about us, little survived I kept my hand on it. Now, Mom, did if ever if that's not said. Hey, the fats, the bumps under the house, and I was back with the listen seller and house, several give nothing. A seller, I give up bath, but give the bumps net. Sorrow not. Her earth, but it's in the law when they get cabinet, the rest in it. Sure, so hard, ain't it? Nah, but as we hard, the high hurts him, nah. What a blessing to garnish and reach his fifth, his mountain mustn't nest, his mountain must eat earth, so his mountain mustn't nest. I asked you, today has not his fifth lips, nor but yeah,
we tore that old big schoolhouse down and
looks right off. I heard some of them in it, I'm just wondering, labor with Oscar resulting in labor look surf is noting that. I'm just the one I do. Man, bang at the survey on a very one else, and I'm wondering what be one and she and us and they'll assume you.
All the sand in.
It does get trophy, bro. I'm big screw up, but stagger is fell sure enough, but now we've been bound to her and let's him out.
Use the stuff out of that and sold a lot of it to pay for a lot of the stuff that we put in the other one, and just messed around there by gum and made it somewhere.
I think we're at the end of our tape, but this has been a very great interview with Mr. Bebe Parrish of SP is his initials, Bebe Parrish of Madill, Oklahoma, and we certainly, Mr. Parrish is 86 years old, and